Wow, my friends. This is honestly a video that I never in my life thought I would ever make, let alone be in a situation like this. Never in a million years in all my time of video gaming since I was 5 years old did I ever think that I would ever essentially leave consoles. Welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I want to talk about my journey leaving consoles for the PC. So, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I never thought I would be in this position, man. I always just thought that like consoles were the way for me. You know, I could care less for keyboard and mouse. That's not changed. I could care less for playing games on a keyboard and mouse. I can hook any of my controllers up to my PC and play. I never in a million years thought that I would be at a point where console platform is no longer my platform of choice. And, you know, I just started thinking really heavily about this today. You know, playing recent games like Dragon's Dogma 2 or finally playing Hitman 3 on PC and stuff, and just seeing that game with all the ray tracing enabled with maximum settings and just looking at that, I'm just like, my gosh, man. Sometimes I'm like really big on like visuals. Sometimes I'm really big on visuals and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And when I go back and I see like one of my favorite games, you know, like the Hitman series, I love Hitman 1, the new ones. The new Hitmans, you know, 1, 2, and 3. What IO Interactive has been able to accomplish with those games and just adding so much replayability to that to where you can literally pick it up anywhere and you can play and get like a gaming session and really enjoy that experience. To see it transformed as much as I did today, oh my gosh, man. Like I've been buying, you know, even Horizon Forbidden West, playing that game at well over 120 frames a second, truly immersed in there. None of the shortcuts that are on the PC or the PS5. You know, you get like perfect draw distance. You get beautiful looking, you know, levels of fog in the environment, so it doesn't just look too over foggy like it does on the PS5. The atmosphere that you can see, I mean, it looks so good you can almost feel it. And I'm really not being hyperbolic when it comes to just how much better the PC experience can be. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, you're right. Sometimes games come out and they are definitely not optimized for PC. And, you know, I think a lot of that does come to like older builds, stuff like that. Some of the newer builds, you know, I mean, like during the transition period from like 8th gen games to 9th gen games, there were definitely a lot more inconsistent games coming out around that time that I had like the 3080 and stuff, and it was frustrating, and so I could honestly see, like, you know, people that are still on the console, you know, feeling like, yeah, man, these games are buggy, because that's all everybody talks about. And the loudest voices definitely get heard the most. You hear a lot of stuff. But as I've started to rebuild my collection of games on PC, and I've went back and I've played some of these games that I absolutely love, like The Witcher 3, playing freaking, you know, Hitman 3, playing some of these games that I've went back and I've bought, like WRC 6, WRC 7. Those games were absolutely basically borderline unplayable on console. Even WRC 8 was borderline unplayable at 30 frames a second on a console, even on a wheel. I was like, my gosh. You know, going back and then picking up, you know, like Rims Racing. Some of these other games like Overpass, dude, on the console, it was like 30 frames a second, had a lot of screen tearing, all of that kind of stuff. And I just go through, guys. I pick up, you know, I picked up another copy of You know, Grid Legends on PC is absolutely fire. This game looks and feels incredible. Grid 2, man, that game was like 30 frames a second and barely 720p when it came out. I picked up a copy of Gravel. You know, like the Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1 and 2, you know, I got those on PC. I got them for like under $10. I think they were maybe like $3 or $4 to be completely honest with you. And I loved those games back then, but then when because you could still get them on your Xbox, and on your PlayStation. Well, I don't think you can get them on your PlayStation, but definitely on your Xbox. You get them on your Xbox and you look at them and they're like 720p, and they look like they've got like these square blocks or whatever, you know, for like the lines. There's a whole lot of alias and everything going on, and they just have like really low texture resolution. You know, but then when you see them on PC and they're absolutely in your face, beautiful, complete, full visuals, well over 100 frames a second, running with the like perfect, you know, like not resolution, but they have like these really nice screen space reflections in there, like these really high quality reflections in there when you're like in the castles and stuff on Castlevania Lords of Shadows 2. And the games, they just look so freaking good and so dense on the PC platform that I look back, man, and I kick myself. I honestly do. I kick myself. Why didn't I go PC sooner, man? Why did I listen to all of the stupid freaking nonsense that everybody out there says? Why was I so naive, and why was I so dumb to listen to people always, you know, with their, oh man, you're going to have like a chin beard and PC gamers are sitting there like this, and all of the stupid nonsense that people say to try to feel better about whatever they're using. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Like, I completely enjoyed my console experience throughout, and I was none the wiser. I really was. Like, I was none the wiser. You know, I was playing games at 30 frames a second, and I was beating them, and I was still enjoying them. I mean, I played Witcher 3 on PlayStation, on a base PlayStation 4 that dropped into the 20 frames a second, and I still came away absolutely loving and thinking that game was beautiful. So I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like my whole gaming experience from 5 years old till now was complete trash, because no, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I made do with what I had. I mean, people would play on black and white Game Boys, man, and still enjoy their time. Video games are fun no matter where you're at. I want everybody to know that. Like, video games are good. And when you're none the wiser, like when you're you know, ignorance is bliss, and I've said that a lot of times on this channel. It really is. If you've never seen better, and like you're getting something, you know, on like your PlayStation 5 or your Series X, and it absolutely just blows away the last gen, you know, version of games, you know, and it just looks better. That really is, guys, honestly, in my opinion, the biggest thing that keeps us feeling like our console experience is getting better, and it looks, because the visuals matter, and that's why developers 100% go for the visuals over the playability, over the frame rate, and that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me, because if you're on a PlayStation 4 and you're playing a game that looks like a PlayStation 3 game, but it feels but it's 60 frames a second as opposed to 30 frames a second, then you're feeling like, oh man, this isn't really that of an upgrade. The visuals, the visuals are the first thing you're gonna see before you feel, and you're gonna be like, all right, man, this looks like terrible. This looks like crap, because you hear it all the time. I mean, even I say it all the time, like, this game looks old. So when you see that, and when you're on your console experience, my friends, the visuals are pretty much what you got to go with. It is cool. It is awesome that this generation has actually given us more 60 frames per second games than we've gotten in a very long time. Especially like open world games. Like, my first taste of playing like Assassin's Creed Valhalla this generation at 60 frames a second was absolutely life-changing for me. When it comes to open world games, I have to play them at 60 frames a second now. Like, I tried playing, and I'm even trying to play Rise of Ronin right now with 30 frames per second, and it is very hard. I'm struggling with that a lot. But my parry timing seems to be better at 30 frames per second. than it does at 60 frames per second. I don't get that. And you know, I noticed that before when I was playing Demon Souls Remake. I noticed that the 30 frames per second I had better parry timing than I would at 60 frames per second. And so like I think there are some benefits to 30 frames per second. Like, don't get me wrong, like it is not unplayable. It's not unplayable. But visuals, I've noticed that a couple of my videos lately have been doing very, very well. Some Ark Survival Evolved, or Ark, yeah, some of those Ascended, some Ark Survival Ascended videos that I put out. People are like, they're looking at this game on Xbox Series S and it absolutely just looks freaking terrible. Like terrible. Like there's, you know, I mean, you have to set your Xbox to like 1080p or even 720p if you're on a Series S. Set it to 720p and let it upscale from there. It will look better. But that's going to depend on your TV. But I mean, you have to go through all of these workarounds and all of this stuff to either get a good playing experience, or if you want a game and it's on these newer like Unreal Engine 5 or something like that, like the sacrifices that we are making on consoles this generation to like image quality or playability, when you can just have both. Like you can just have both on like a 4070 Super. You can have both. You can have a 60 FPS experience and you can have max visual quality at like 1440p, even up to 4K. Like you can do pretty decent at 4K on these mid-range GPUs. And when I hear people talking about how expensive it is, or how much it costs, or the inconvenience of it, or just the stereotypes that like console gamers put on PC gamers, or the stereotypes that PC gamers put on console gamers, it really doesn't help the situation at all. When you got PC guys out there berating people for buying a pre-built, no, dude, buy a pre-built. Like if you buy a pre-built, you don't have to build your own PC. You can still 100% enjoy your experience on a pre-built. And they come with extra training wheels to help you learn, to help you get into it. Once you get to a point where you know what you're doing, then you can skip all the nonsense that I went through and you can just be happy. Would I recommend jumping in at a 4060 series, you know, card, or like a 7600 XT? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a cheaper way in. Just make sure your pre-built has, you know, like just look at the things you're going to want to look at are power supply. In case you decide, yeah, I want a little bit more visual quality. And then your CPU. Like, make sure you got like at least an 8-core CPU. If you can get like an X3D model in your pre-built, definitely make sure that is a priority over your GPU. Make sure your RAM and your CPU and your power supply, those are the 3 most important things to look for when you're out there shopping for a pre-built. Make sure you've got an 850 minimum, a minimum of 850 watt power supply, because that'll give you enough to at least get to a 7800 XT or 7900 GRE or like a 4080 or whatever like that. That will give you enough power to like really expand your overall GPU. And then make sure you've got an X3D, you know, or you know, a faster CPU. Make sure you've got a good fast CPU that's built for gaming, and it's going to give you, you know, a good enough CPU experience that you're not going to have to be worrying about other things. You know what I mean? Make sure you got enough RAM. Obviously, you know, 16 minimum, 32 is pretty much what I would recommend going forward. Just have 32 gigs of VRAM, or not VRAM, but 32 gigs of RAM. That there's going to definitely help, you know, sustain your gaming for a long time. And the system that I'm telling you right now to pick up is a system that's going to last you a while. You're not going to have to upgrade. Like, I'm still rocking a 5900X. I would still be rocking my 5800X if I hadn't bought this off of somebody from the community. I'm doing fine with my 5900X. I don't need a 7800X 3D. I don't have to go out and buy one, but I do plan on doing that eventually. But I'm still getting over 60 frames a second on all my games. I'm still rocking at 1440p with max settings. And I'm telling you right now, 1440p at max settings looks better than 4K at low settings, or 4K at medium settings, or 4K at whatever the console settings with checkerboard and rendering and FSR and all of that stuff. When you can run at a native resolution on PC, it looks better, and you'll see it. Like you'll see it immediately. You'll be like, oh my gosh, just even 1080p at max settings looks really, really good. Like you'll be like, whoa, this is mind blowing. And I'm not joking. Like it looks good. Once you start putting on like the upscalers and all of that stuff, that's when things, start to get a little bit wonky and weird. But at native resolution, it usually looks pretty good. It usually looks pretty good. But yeah, when it comes to like the PC guys talking down to the console dudes, like I get it, man. Like the console guys, I was one. I am one. And man, dude, I think that when I was a console gamer, I would pop off at the mouth without having like any knowledge, and it was almost like I would just completely block PC out of the equation, as it's not even an option. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, it's way too expensive. It's not something that I want to have. Man, I'm telling you, bro, like going back and buying like your old favorite games on PC for like $2 or $3. You save so much money. You save so much money. You don't have to pay to play your games online. I know the whole cheater thing. I'm not really a big multiplayer gamer, so that's never going to affect me in a way that's going to make my experience bad. Updates, driver updates, all of this stuff. Man, they don't take long. They take like a minute or so to update your PC every once in a while. Usually you can just wait until Windows, when Windows is like doing an update, you can literally wait until you're done playing or doing whatever you want and then be like, all right, I'm going to shut down. And then it gives you options. Do you want to shut down and restart? Do you want to shut down and apply your... It's a non-issue. Like the updates are a non-issue. They really are a non-issue. You'll get a new driver, for games or something, like with Nvidia or AMD, you'll get like new driver updates for that you can download and install. And they usually make your experience better. They usually let you tap into more power for your GPU and stuff like that. You don't need a $4,000 PC to enjoy gaming. You don't even need a $4,000 PC to really play at 4K. If 4K is your thing, if that's what you got and you want to play at 4K, your 7800 XT, your 4070 Super, all of these games, all of these cards are going to give you a significantly better experience than the consoles at 4K even. Like, you can do it. Like, yes, you're going to be using your upscalers, but it is what it is. If you're coming from console and you're using upscalers, like, you're not going to... It's going to be significantly better because you're going to be able to rock it from a higher base resolution, where on the consoles you might be upscaling from like 540p, 720p, whatever. On the PC you're going to be upscaling from like 1440p or 1080p, and you're going to be getting a better overall image quality regardless of what GPU vendor you go with. If you go with AMD, whatever, you're going to save more money. You'll be able to get more bang for your buck. If you go with Nvidia, you are paying for quality, and you're going to get a good experience either way. That's basically what it is, and you're going to get a good experience either way. But my gosh, man, like I kick myself so much because there's so many games that I wish I would have been able to, that I had on PC right now to play. And when I look at them, when I'm getting on like an eBay or something, trying to find some of the games that have been discontinued and stuff, and I'm kicking myself because these guys are like, yeah, man, we want like $400 for this, man. And I'm like, gosh dang, dude. I wish I would have got on PC back. I wish I would have got on PC at the beginning of the PlayStation 3 generation, the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. That's where I wish I would have got onto PC, because then I would have already started building my collection of all of those games, and I would have some amazing games, man. I mean, even like the PlayStation 2 era. Yeah, maybe even the PlayStation 2 era, because then I would have Need for Speed Carbon. I would have all of the Need for Speeds. I would have all of the Need for Speeds, like Underground, everything on PC. I would have, you know, Need for Speed Pro Street. All of these games that I absolutely want and wish that I could still play, but I can't. I would have. There's a lot of games that I would have from the not as many from the PlayStation 2 generation, but from PS3, Xbox 360 forward. I would have, dude. I would have Juiced 2. I would have Juiced. You know, I would have some of those old racing games that I really wish that I could still get, like Driver and some of them other games. Like I'd have Driver San Francisco. Gosh, there's just so many games that I would have on PC and still be able to play them and still be able to, you know, utilize like super higher resolution. When I'm playing like Dragon's Dogma, the first one, Dark Arisen, man, at 8K, at 8 freaking K, downsampled to 1440p, looks absolutely incredible. And I look at that and I think about that and I'm like, gosh dang, dude. All of those old games that I used to love and I want to play again and I want to see, you know, running at like over 60 frames a second and feeling good and just because there's some games, guys, that I've went back and I've played them, you know, above the 30 frames a second that we would have played them before. And now they feel great. They feel fluid. They look insanely good. And I'm just like, my gosh, man. I don't feel like, let me be clear. I don't feel like I wasted my time with those. I don't feel like I wasted my time with consoles. I don't. I absolutely love the experience that I had. And it was affordable. It was affordable. I'd buy my console, I'd buy my games, I'd buy them physically, you know, then I would trade them in. I didn't start buying digital until I started my digital collection once Xbox One X came out. That's, well, maybe PS4 Pro. Maybe PS4 Pro. That's when I started like really buying like digital games and I think like one of the things that really got me into digital was, you know, like when I bought my Xbox One X, I got like when I bought my Xbox One S, I got like all the Gears games and those were all like just in a bundle. I got from like all the remakes or all the remasters, and then I got Gears 4 and that all came as like one thing, and then I just started, you know, buying like my Ubisoft games digitally so that I could just play them. And so once I started going digital, and now that I look back, because I used to trade in a lot of games. I'd buy them, I'd beat them, I'd trade them in, and I'd just move on. There's a lot of games that I've bought, that I've beat, that I've traded in, that I would absolutely love to be able to play on the PC platform. I would love to be able to go back and like re-experience those games very fluidly, you know, with higher FPS and max visual settings to like really sit there and like take in that experience, because there's so many. Like the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation. I mean, like playing Rise Son of Rome on PC at over 100 frames a second with absolutely max, like 4K visuals and everything just turned up. That game is absolutely beautiful. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so incredible. And so, like, even like Crackdown 3, man, playing that game at 4K 120 FPS with max settings, oh, it just feels so much better. Like, the whole game just feels significantly better. And, you know, with Xbox, you know, it is a little bit easier for the Xbox guys to transition over to PC, because we have an Xbox app on the PC. We have an Xbox app. All of the games that are Xbox that we've bought and we've added to our collection, and some third-party games, we actually still get to have those as PC games, you know, with Play Anywhere. Our saves transfer over. We can play those there. We can play them on a ROG Ally. We can still play them on our Xbox in our front room or wherever. It's not really that big. It's not really that big of an inconvenience to go to PC. You can still play on a 4K TV. You can still use a wireless controller. You can still do everything you want to do on the PC platform. Like, you can still do that. But yeah, it does kind of, you know, I think the pros outweigh the cons. You know what I mean? Like, giving up the convenience to go to PC and have to do like a little bit more work. Like, you have to do a little bit more work, but not as much as you think. But I do think that after you get acclimated and you start playing and you start seeing the difference and you're going back and you're finding your older games and you're playing those and you're just seeing everything you've been missing for so long, you just think, you know, I mean, like, think about this, man. You're like, okay, so you got your Xbox Series X. You got your new best, good, favorite game coming out. You got your Starfield coming out. And then Todd Howard comes out and he says, yeah, it's going to be 4K, but it's going to be at 30 frames per second. And you're just like, oh, man, but it's a $70 game. But then when you buy it on PC and it's like $60, it's $10 cheaper and you get 4K, you get max settings, and you get over 60 frames a second. And I'll tell you guys, playing Starfield over 60 frames a second, I think I played it over 100 frames a second on like the 7900 XT, versus playing that at 30 frames a second on Xbox. Is it unplayable on Xbox? No, absolutely not. It was fine. I beat it. I beat it on the Xbox. I mean, like my second playthrough was on the Xbox, so it was much quicker. I was able to get through that significantly faster than I was. You know, I had the Starborn and all of that other stuff, so it was much easier, much faster. But like playing through that on PC over 100 frames a second, just being able to like fully be immersed in that experience and the combat just felt so much more snappy on PC versus like, you know, it just kind of felt a little sluggish on Xbox. And it does. At 30 frames per second, gameplay just kind of feels sluggish. Unless you're used to it. I mean, if you're used to it, it's not that bad. But I could tell immediately going from PC to Xbox that like, dang. But people say that, man, those games aren't worth $70. They're not worth $70. But what if you could have all of your 4K, all of your frame, like your frame rate, and you can have your visual quality, and you don't have to worry about any of that. And you buy these games, and you're paying like maybe you're paying less most of the time. Most of the time, it's $10 less on PC. There are some games that are starting to come out that are $70. So yeah, $70 is going to be a thing, but they drop on price so much faster on PC than they do on console. Like on PC, they usually drop price pretty quickly, so you'll be able to get them pretty quick at a much lower price. And then you're like, and then you're thinking, you're like, my gosh, dude, where's like on console you wait a month, on PC you wait like a couple of weeks, and then they're already like, you know, doing sales on Steam and everywhere else, or Epic Game stores. You got so many different places to choose from, and like Epic Games gives out free games all the time. Steam, you get like really good discounts on Steam, like very good discounts. GOG, you can buy like older games like Mortal Kombat Ultimate. Like you can buy like older games for like a few bucks, and they have no DRM or any of that stuff. They just play amazing. I bought Alpha Protocol. This game right here, Alpha Protocol, man. Like it's not the best game in the world, but it was. I was looking on Aniba for it because I was like, man, I want to go back and play Alpha Protocol. Like that game was absolutely unplayable on console. And so when they came out with that just the other day, they're like, oh yeah, man, Alpha Protocol, you can get it for like $17.99 on GOG. I was like, what? Because if you look on Aniba or anywhere else, they wanted over $100 freaking dollars for that game. And I was like, gosh dang, man, I want to play it, but I don't want to pay that much for it. And so now that I got it for like $17.99, I was like, dude, I'm happy. Like I'm happy as a clam. I bought it and I played it, and it looks incredible. Like it looks incredible. I'm like, wow, this game actually looks pretty good on the PC platform. And this is like, what was this, 360? This is a 360 game, and I'm like, gosh dang, man, like some of these games actually look pretty good when you go back and you play them. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed 4 again, and I'm playing this, and it's like over 100 frames a second. It's 1440p native resolution. Everything looks good. You got full freaking detail in there. And I'm like, wow, this game actually looks way better than I remember. And I'm playing, and you know, once you get over the whole like stereotypical things that like the PC guys have and the console gamers have, and you just put the games first, because that's what you got to do. You have to put the games first. It doesn't matter what platform you play your games on. It doesn't. It never has, and it never will matter. It never will matter. If there's a game that you want to play, you're going to find a way to enjoy it regardless if it's 20 frames a second or 240 frames per second. It doesn't matter if it's 720p or if it's 8K. Like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, and honestly, at the end of the day, the experience that you get from the games that you want to play is what matters the most. And I've always been like that. Like, I come out against some games, but then, like, depending on my mood, and people probably think I'm like a flip-flopper all the time, and that's fine. Like, I don't care, dude. Like, I don't conform myself to anybody else. I don't conform myself to what everybody else is saying. If I buy a game, and this is true, like, I've bought games, and like when they first come out, and I bought them and I played them for 20 minutes, and I was like, dude, I hate this game. I can't get into it. And then like a year later or something, I'll go back to it and I'll play that game, and I'm like, gosh, what was I thinking? This game is awesome. I do that a lot. Like, sometimes, like, maybe it's like a lot of reading at first, or a lot of this or a lot of that, and I just want to get in and see things, and I just want to do something, and it's just bombarding me with nonsense, and I'm just like, I don't got time for this, so I'll put it off, and then I'll be like, I don't want to deal with that. But then I'll come back to it later, and the game is absolutely incredible. Like, when I have the time to go back and truly look at it and give it the attention that it deserves. I mean, like, Metro Exodus was one of those games. Metro Exodus took me over a year to complete. I started it, I played it for 10 minutes, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to play this. But then I went back and I went through it and I beat it, and the story just started getting gooder, or it started getting better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually a really cool game. And I ended up loving that game. I absolutely love freaking Metro Exodus. I think it's a great game. You know, I've played a lot of games in my life, and some of them I have just went through them just like I'm going through the motions and stuff. But lately, guys, I'm telling you, going back to some of these older games and seeing them in their very best light, I'm just like, wow, man, this is incredible. Like, it's made gaming so much better for me that it's had its ups and downs. It's now that I'm personally acclimated with PC gaming. I've got my Nvidia experience running really good. I got my AMD experience running incredibly. Man, I'm glad I took this. I'm glad I took this trip. I'm glad I did it. I don't think gaming will ever be the same for me again. Like, I think it will always, you know, like, I'm always going to keep one toe in the water for consoles, but at the end of the day, like, PC is like my platform now. PC is my platform. I love PC. I think it's incredible, and I want to help as many of my console friends move over to PC as possible, because I think the sooner you do it, the happier you're going to be. But let's help you get there in a responsible way that's not going to waste your money, that's not going to waste your time. I'll be as honest as I possibly can about my PC experience, and I have been. Like, I'll boot up games day one, I'll buy them, and I'll show you exactly how they run. You know what I mean? Like, I've done that. I've done that just because I want you to see what's going on. I don't hide anything from you guys. I don't. I want you guys, like, the Nvidia experience was really frustrating me, man, because I was making all the wrong. Like, I don't understand, like, why it was so confusing or why it was so bad. But now that it's running great. And I'm like, gosh dang, dude, if I would have just, you know, been able to figure this out. But it wasn't even, but if I would have never tried AMD, I would have never known what I liked. So I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that my initial Nvidia experience was bad, because it made it easier, you know, to figure out, because I switched to AMD. And then when I switched to AMD and I saw all this amazing stuff, and it, like, completely blew my mind, now I was able to go back and, like, get the Nvidia experience to where it's supposed to be. And that's awesome. It's awesome, because now I get to enjoy both sides of the aisle, and I get to play my ray tracing, and I get to play my super rasterized games, and it's incredible. So, yes, guys, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Sorry that this video was so long, but I just had a lot to say, and I've just been thinking about this, and I wanted to you know, put this out there so that you guys could take it for what it is, and, you know, maybe give me some feedback and tell me what your fears are about switching to PC. tell me what your fears are, man, and we'll try to set it straight. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.